Let me log in with other machine. Yeah. So what we are going to do rather is like I will introduce you few things from uh, one of the machine, and then rather few things would be described to you by making use of Linux machine directly. Okay, so what we are going to learn in today's session is some basics of what is called as process management. Now let me show you what exactly the process management is supposed to do. So we talked about different structures or different types of operating system, where we had seen one important type or one important part of it, something called as multitasking, and this was to be done by the process. Okay, and like when we do talk about process, say for example, if I press Ctrl Alt Delete on Windows and if I go to Task Manager, I do see some processes running. Okay, so in my operating system, what are the processes those are running? So some information about the process might be collected, and some the information would be shown to me. So if I go with respect to few other parameters, so I do see them with respect to usage, even how much network was used, what was the CPU amount of CPU time used, and so on. So what would be the kind of services which would be starting at the initial stage, at the start of the thing, like how many users are there on my system. Okay, then ultimately details of each process, what is the PID of the process, so who initiated that process, say for example this PID. So whatever the UI that I'm showing to you is from Windows. Okay, now if I have to show you similar thing from Linux perspective, so let me try to show you. Okay. Okay, so let me open terminal, and if we saw that we already rather addressed this. So if I write ps-a, so I do see different processes running on my Linux machine too. Okay, like 1, 2, 3, 4. The same thing might not be seen with respect to PID. Like if I go with say Windows per se, okay, where I saw different processes running along with the, you can call it a process. Okay, so let me show you that part too. Yeah. Now if I see, this is the kind of PID, like I may not be able to increase size of font rather, because this is a application that is running. Okay, so if I try to see what different processes are, so it starts with something called as 0, then there is 4, there is 1, 2, 4, 4, 3, 2, and you may see some change in the number, like though it looks kind of sequential, and few services are running in kilos, kind of like multiple copies of one service are loaded. Say for example, if I sort it with name, you may see that there are multiple services running with SVC host, right, which are whether is this a one program or these are multiple programs. This would be really difficult to know, but ultimately there is only one program running, but at multiple, it is having multiple instances. Okay, instances means copies, correct, and that's how it goes. Now whenever we deal with, say for example, Linux, we do see similar kind of stuff. So if I try to show you this thing, like these are the kind of processes those might be running. Okay, and you may see even like few of them probably may have. So like if I go with, say for example, let us try to find out say for example this service. So I can see that there are multiple such services running, okay, with some similar thing. Okay, so same name of the process. Similarly, if I go further, even here I can see that two services or two processes are running with process ID to be different. Okay, 737 and 740, but the process or the program name looks to be same. Now, how exactly this is carried out or this actively is done? That's what we would be learning, probably, or we are going to see rather in our today's thing. Okay, so let me get back to my process. So what exactly the process is? Okay, now when I say what exactly the process is, I ultimately say that a process is one basic unit of execution that is happening on the user side. Fine. Now when I say what exactly I am going to give call process, so this would be what we call it as a program in executions. Say for example, if I see for a while, if I go to my Windows Explorer, say, okay, now if I see one application which I use for say bank, okay, which is here MaSecure. So this is a program that is underlying. This says application, correct? It says application, correct? Now if I see this application, rather the way that it is shown, correct? So this application might be as an executable. So if I try to see even its properties, it can let me know what is the kind of type of application. It is an exe. Okay. Now few details I can get of that file. Okay. Now when I do talk about such a program, this program is underlying on my hard disk. So this is available on this particular path, C:/MaSecure/ this file. Until unless I execute this program, okay, this program would not be loaded in memory. So if I try to see, say for example, if I go and check my task manager, okay, and if I try to see is there any service running with M, so let us check. So you have services starting with M here, okay, 3-4 services. So when I run this, okay, suppose let me double click this. So I double clicked it. I can see that my application started running. Now if I go back to my task manager, okay, let me check. So you will see that yes, this got executed. Okay, and it has given some number which is a PID. Right. That means what? What was stated there is this. A process is a program in execution. So until unless it is loaded in memory, it is loaded in memory. It would not be called as a process. So till that time it would be a program. Now this program would be a unit, or you may call it as passive entity, which would be either of the storage, like it could be on floppy, CD-ROM, hard disk, or your pen drive, wherever it is. Now what exactly this can include? So this content, this process, when loaded in memory, say the way that we saw this MaSecure running in memory, what it did, it is showing me this UI. Okay, this UI. Okay, now this UI is shown to me, and this user interface would be accessible for me because the program was executed by the user from the disk, and then when it started executing, the few set of instructions or few set of statements which are added in the program might be asked to display this kind of screen to me as a user. Okay, so if I see, this would be containing executable file, okay, which is also kind of image. This also would be containing set of register values. Now what exactly this is? Okay, so let me show you. I cannot show that part rather on Windows, but let me try to show that part using my Linux machine for some other code. Okay, so let us go and check it. Is my terminal visible?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, sir.
Okay. Now let us say if I have let me search for a code. So let me take a C code for a while. We will take latest one. Okay, so let me take this MCA30. So let me translate this. So what we do is for translation purpose. So our code was MCA. We are going to pick this one. Fine, MCA30. So let us see what it contains. Now you will see that we have only this thing. These things are included. There is a function called system, which is from this header file. Okay, and we are executing some ls command. That's what our goal is. So if I try to translate, so there are multiple ways of translation. Multiple ways in the sense what output you expect. So if I expect assembly code generated for this program, then I will write this command. Sorry, I will write this command. So if I write ls dash ltr mca 30 star, so I can see that this file got generated. Now if I want an execute an object code, I will write here dash c. If I check it, I do see an object code is generated. And if I want an executable, so what I will do is gcc dash okay, gcc dash m32, because we wanted sorry, I missed that part. I should have written here m32 so that we can see the 32-bit code generated. And let me translate this code now to an executable. Correct. So if I try to see now ls this and a dot down, so I can see that these 4 files are there. Dot c is my source, dot s is assembly code, dot o is object code, and this is executable. Now what is the size of this file? 15592. So how exactly this this was shown to us? It was contained in this file. That's why. Now let me do one more thing. So let me, like, what are the way that I translated this? I will create an executable with my file name as well. Like I will give this name only. So small o. Okay. And I will write here dash g. Now what this dash g tells, this dash g will permit us to add debugging information to my code or to my executable. Okay. So let me do this. Now let me see these files. So you may see, can you see this change in the size? What are the MCA 30 that we got and what are a dot out we got? So earlier a dot out size was 15592. So if I don't write this, set for example this dash g, okay, and if I try to see these contents, both the file sizes would be same, correct? But earlier case it was not same. Here you can see there is a difference. This was added because user is writing this dash g. What is dash g tells? Dash g tells you please add debugging information in the executable. Okay, and now let me show you like whatever was stated there, what a process can contain. Okay, so what a process can contain. So if I really talk about this, so we were saying a process includes program counter, stack, data section, okay, and so many things. Okay, along with this. So if a process is a thing, like it would be containing state, set of register values in CPU. What are the open files along with their descriptors, their status, what are the IO resources added, and dot dot dot. So few things which I can show you from Linux machine. Okay, would be like this. Okay, now let me start again. So please bear because bear with me because I really want to give you a kind of demonstration where it would be very clear for us what are the things that are documented in a book, whether are they really correct or not. Fine. So if I try to write this obj dump dash d, and if I say mca 30, which is my executable. So let me write this as dot slash. Okay, and let us write here pipeless. So this would be kind of code added. So, but it would be difficult for me to find out what is doing or for what purpose these things are added. I would not be very easily can tell what exactly they are doing. At least what are the terminology that I know. Say for example, as a user. So as a user, those who worked with computer systems earlier, you must have heard a terminology called API. Have you heard API? Application Program Interface.
Interface.
Okay, so like when you use Java, .NET kind of coding, so you use APIs, API calls, even Android and so on. So in C language, we do call it as library function calls. Now, when we say library function call, what exactly they mean for us? So like if I write now this strace dot slash mca30. So what are the thing that was stated in our slide? Okay, so let me switch again back. Now you will see this would be one terminology that we are going to learn. You might be saying that I'm switching from one to other and so on. Correct? Now what exactly we do there is I want to show you this part importantly. Okay, now what it is, please take screenshot of this because it would be, let me do this for you. Again, I will add this into comment window. Hopefully I should get it. Yeah. So can you see this in comment window? Open the comment window and check. So you will be seeing one screenshot that I have added. Okay. Now that's what we really want to see. Like what the thing is telling us. Open that screenshot, and it says a program which is containing this image. Okay. We should know what is the state of what is the state of each register value that is added. It could be program counter. Okay, then stack pointer and so on. So let me show you that part now, what is there exactly with our code. Okay, now we have created an executable. Now when I fire this execution, okay, let me use, I cannot use less, but let me try this. So you will see here. Okay, so execution also was done for the code. Okay, internally. You may see when it executed that ls, it is showing me this directory too. But in between, like if I see the code, there are multiple things that are happening. So this is where my execution started. So it took using this exec CVE. This is called a system call or interrupt on Windows operating system. Linux, it is called a system call. So it took this image, loaded in memory. Okay, loaded in memory. Now we got the location where exactly the program should be allocated the space, and then you may see different calls are given. So you can see like read. So we are reading from the file descriptor 3. Okay, similarly, if I go below, there would be few other things added. Now this would be telling me like what function calls, what open files are there which got executed that time, what was their status, like what are the return value every time that you see. This would be telling me the status of that execution. Okay, for every call, like if I see this, okay, and if I try to go up and try to see for every call that is given, okay, every call is ending with equal to 0. You can check it, equal to 0. Okay, or every call is containing some number. Okay, here we got -1, here we got -1, here we got -1, here we got 3, here we got 0. Okay, then we got some hex number. This was hex number. Okay, because this was probably an address. Then this 0, again -1, then 3, then 512. Correct. So I got different return values. So this might be telling me what is the status of that execution of each function call. So this is return value. Or because you write now, like whenever you write a C function, you write, say for example, int max in bracket int a, int b, int c. So that means you are going to compute you are going to compute some operation using those three inputs that are given, and as a result, integer value would be returned. So whatever would be returned probably would be written here. Okay, for that function. Now let us try to see what exactly is set of register values. Okay, like in the screenshot you can check. Fine. Even like you may see with respect to IO resources, what are the code, what are the things that we saw. IO resources in the sense of wherever you see read, write, close. Okay, let us try to find out, can we get read, write and close. Write probably might not be there, but at least read definitely would be there. Okay, access, close. This is related to your IO, input and output. Correct. So IO resources also would be told to us. Now let us try to see where are the registers. So let me go to gdb./a.out. So if I take that a.out, which was created using without -g operation, so it says no debugging symbols found. Correct. So if I try to display my code using this command, it says nothing is loaded. Correct. Now that's why I need to make use of this. So I will use my MCA30 file which I created using -g option with GCC. So let me execute this. Now you will see different thing now. It is showing me what? Reading symbols from that file. So it could read this file and it is getting some data. So if I write L, you will see my program is loaded. And this information was added because of that -g. So earlier, while I tried displaying that thing with a.out, it said me like no symbol table attached. Now what is symbol table? Let us not really worry about that part now. Okay, but let us move further. So if I write, there is a command in debugger called info all registers. So see what it says. Now the program has no registers now, but like here it is saying what? A program, because this is underlying on the machine. You haven't executed that code. How you execute? So you write the start statement. What would be the start? So you set a breakpoint from where the execution should start. Okay. Now if I still write, the program execution hasn't started yet. So if I write still this, what it says, program has no register. So let me write now. Let me write here R. So which says run. Now it tells you like what happened. Starting program. It started this program. Now it became a process. Okay. Now if I open another terminal. Now we started executing a.out, correct? So let us check. Whether a.out is there or not. So let us go below. Sorry, not a.out, but our code. So MCA30 is running now with GDB. Correct? That's why, like, because we are started this program became part of the code. So if I say quit from this, okay, and if I go back here and if I fire the command again, you will see that the GDB also is not available, as well as our MCA30 is not available. So they are not here now. Correct? So they are both of them became program. So let me go back to this. Okay, let me execute this code. Okay, and let me check now this. So let us go below. So we should see now GDB. Can you see GDB? Yes. Can you see GDB?
Yes, sir. Yes,
because
sir.
we executed
Yes, sir.
GDB here, correct? Now, when I say breakpoint main, have I started execution? Not yet. So I should not see that GDB my program name yet. Okay, what was the program name? We said we wrote this ./MCA30. Correct. So that program name cannot be seen here yet. So we need to say now R. Now when we say R, it said I am starting this program which is of this name. So now if I go back and check this one, and if I go below, you will see MCA30 occurred. Now this program became a process with this ID. Correct? Now if I write here, say info all registers, now you would be able to see the registers on my which are used inside the code and their values. Okay, in decimal and hex. So these are my general purpose registers, like what you saw in computer organization course. Okay, or what is available with your architecture. So it could be your mobile, it could be your laptop, it could be your desktop. There is a processor available on your device, electronic device, correct? So that processor has set of registers. Some registers are used by you, some registers are used by the system. So the register that you use would be these. Okay, mostly. So if you write an assembly code, you would be using these registers mostly. This is what the program counter is. So it is called as EIP, instruction pointer. So in Intel terminology, a program counter means what? It is going to contain what would be the next address to execute. So you will see currently what it is containing. This number 0x565561 CD. So if I try to check my main, so when I say run, for example, okay, you will see it is showing me this thing. And if I try to now display my instruction pointer, so EIP, so this dollar, every register would be prefixed with dollar. So if you write this, it tells you that you are starting execution from here. So this is the number for my code. Okay, for like where the execution is starting. Now if I say next, let me say step, for example. So it is executing now another statement. So you will see my instruction pointer suddenly changed because it shifted from this line, okay, which one? The line curly bracket to next line This is line number 4. This system ls. Now it is going to execute this. So if I say again next, so step, it executed that code. Now it is back to this curly bracket. That's what. Now every time whenever you start execution, it is going to communicate you which is the next statement that I'm going to execute. That's what this instruction pointer or program counter is going to contain. Okay, now similarly, like if I see what are the values, like for example, let me check what is the EX value. So let us for a while take this or even ESP FFFF D1 DC. Correct, this is the number. So if I try now getting this info all registers. So see what is the stack address FFF D1 C0. So was it the same? So let us check FFF D1 C0. Now we have D1 DC because code is going to get execute somewhere at D1 DC and we had below check this one D1 C0. So the registers are changing, the values are also changing. So for example, with EAX we have 0, with ECX we have 0 currently, with EDX we have 0, with EBX we have some number. But if I see like at least remember this 5655. Okay, 56558. So if I go up and check earlier things, whatever the status was for my respective registers. So my EBX was 0. These were having some numbers, but when next line was executed, these all became 0 and this EBX got manipulated. Even most of the registers are getting manipulated. Correct. Even like if I see this is a flag register. Operations depending upon the flag. So if PF, ZF, IF, interrupt flag, priority and then 0 flag. So if I go below and see what is the status of my flag register 2, I can check that here. Okay, was it got affected? So I can see ZF is removed, so it got SF now. Correct. So these values would be contained by the program itself. The program is containing that information by means of process. What I said, by means of process, and that's what the slide was trying to tell us. What the slide was saying, check that one in the screenshot. It would be telling you set of register values in CPU. What is the status of the value? Okay, even other descriptors and so on, allocated IO resource and so many things. Okay, now when I say what exactly happened there, when I executed my code, what exactly happened there? Because if I go back and really see other terminal, okay, see the lines below. What is the current scenario? We got last number as 23808. Can you see this? Now I'm talking about now next thing. Okay, I'm talking about the next thing. Now if my process ID, last process ID is 23808. So let me go here and execute my code. So when I execute, suddenly see what happened was on my terminal, I could see GDB got executed. I got next number. Then I can see PS and less. Okay, now when I execute this, say if I say breakpoint main, and if I say run, now see what happened. I can see that with GDB, my process got some number. Okay, after GDB only, and then like because program was executed on this other terminal. Okay, by writing this R, that's what we did. Correct. And then I can see like this thing was added, and this was done in a proper method, and that's what our next slide would be targeting. Okay, so let me go back here. Can you see this slide? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So what we are saying is it would be executing variety of programs, because when I executed GDB, it was showing only GDB, but from other terminal I have filed ps-a pipeless to see what are the processes. So the processes, like what operating system did, operating system executed all those processes, ps, lace, then GDB from the other terminal. When user said breakpoint main and run, it also was shown. So like in what manner they are executed, whether they are executed as a job or they are executed on time sharing method. I'm not really sure about that because I don't know what is happening on that side. How exactly operating system is handling, and that's what our job would be to understand. So that's what this statement also says. Process execution must progress in a sequential fashion. If you recall, while I was showing you GDB, every statement was executed line by line. First curly bracket, then system, ls, then last curly bracket, and so on. So it was executing in a sequential manner. And it contains these things: program counter, stack, data section, all those things. Okay. Now how data section? Let me show that part too. Now we are talking about our code. Okay. Let us see here. Now let me quit this and like what are the code that I wrote? My code was containing this thing MCA30.c. Have I stated any data, anything there? I don't have any data element declared. Okay. Now if I try to see what are the contents of my file, okay, by means of execution. So I can see that there is a text section, which is my executable code. There is a data section and BSS. This is completely data section with this is initialized data and this is uninitialized data. Okay, and the size of the file in decimal and hex with respect to in memory kind of process. In memory, this much amount of executable size would be there, 1968 bytes. Okay, so this information also would be added in my code. Now, how can I see this? So if you write obj dump, even like if I write say for example nm, this is a utility available which displays you symbols, okay, from your executable. So if I write MCA30, you can see that there are few things added. So let me write less so that we can see page by page. So you will see data start, BSS start. Then there is something called as frame dummy. Okay, then so on. Like I can see main2. We gave call to system function. That's why system also is shown from this libc library. We are calling this function, and this would be in the end of my code. Correct? These 4-5 functions. This would be end of my code, and these all are added. All are added in my file. So how exactly it got to know? It is because like what you did was you actually included not you, but this was added by your process exactly on its side. So that's what it says. It would be containing some of this information. Apart from this, now let us try to differentiate the terminologies. Now see, like recall, I have purposefully added this particular clip here. So you may see like this is one of the famous role in the movies, like Marvel's movies, correct? So ultimately, initially he was a program, then he becomes a job and then start execution. Now you might have seen. So what exactly it does? A program has no active set of instruction written, but they are stored on the disk until unless it become a job. So when it becomes a job, that moment it is selected for execution until it has finished running and becomes program again. So whenever he wears this suit, and till the time the suit is on like on his body, it would be job. Okay, now here suit is already there. Next thing would be what? He has to use that suit, and that's why you can see the execution like this one, like when he fires something using his suit, correct? So this is a process, and what the process tells you? The process tells you a process is a program in execution, and it is a program that has started but has not finished. In other words, a process is a job which remains in memory. As long as the job is in memory, it is process. So he may wear the suit, okay, but until or unless he executes the functioning available with that suit, it would be a job only. When it starts executing, then it becomes a process. Every process is a job, but every job may not be process. Correct. Now suppose you are wearing similar kind of suit and you are moving here and there, and your suit doesn't have those options available like firing and so on, you will be always a job. You will never become a process. That's what we do see, correct? This kind of shirt skins or dress skins are available which you can purchase and wear. But ultimately you cannot function as that particular role. So every process is a job, but every job may not be a process. And that's really important thing, which would be used by us to differentiate this terminology. Fine. Okay. So let us move further. Now, okay, you may read this later. I will be adding this PPT for you people. So let me move further. Yeah. So now let me try to see this. If I try to see what are contents of my code, so my code would be divided like this. So suppose my program is loaded in memory. So in user level, I can see this kind of structure. Maybe not directly, but indirectly I can check it. Like at starts, this would be the address 0 to max, where my text would be added, my data would be added, heap and stack would be. This may not be directly used. Okay, this may not be directly used until unless there is something happening. And this information would be added always in your code. Okay, or in your process, what is the process that is there, additional information. Now, when I say additional information, how exactly this should be done? Let us try to check. What exactly it contains. Now, like if you recall, what are the terminal thing that I showed you using NM, okay, before a while. Okay, let me show you that part. So I showed you few things here, correct? So you may see there is something called as frame dummy. You might see there is something called as data. Okay, for example, data with respect to your code, it talks about main. When stack would be in picture, when heap would be in picture. Okay, now these are two important terminologies which you may probably learn in your data structure course. Okay, but like from operating system perspective, like we are going to make use of this. Now what happens is, now suppose you want to move to say to visit one site, say for example, one of the beach in Goa. Generally what you do, you try to book. You try to book maybe the house or a hotel or a room or whatever. Now, when you know exactly how much memory would be required, how much space is required, according to that only you reserve the number of rooms. Suppose you are 10 people. So will you book a room with a single bed? Definitely not. Maybe yes, depending upon if it can fit 10 people in between. If it cannot, even like while booking your car to go to that particular place, you would require. So this will change. Like suppose we decided to hire a car and suddenly we saw 2 members increased. We cannot accommodate those 2 now in the car. That's why we have to again change. So this would be dynamically changing memory. And when it is going to be dynamically changing memory, it is to be allocated at runtime. And what are the other things are where we know exactly what would be required and what would not be. So you would be having some local context, what we call as local variables and other function calls that are included into your system. Correct. So if I see this part, for example, here, so if I execute my code. Okay, let me execute my code. Okay, using GDB. Say for example, if I try to execute this, okay, then I do see what? If I try to display my instruction pointer or sorry, stack pointer, it says registers are not loaded because we haven't loaded the code. So let me execute the code. Now ESP is containing this address. Now we know that next is a function call. Right? Next is the function call. What was the next line? That call to system function. So if I say step, now suddenly because it is going to execute this one, so it changes the stack pointer. If I say step again, it executed it and then it comes back with some return address. Now it is somewhere in this function call. So this for every function call, a stack and heap needs to be created. What exactly they would be containing? They would be containing some important things like this. Let us check. Okay, what are they? So my code would be divided like or my code would be loaded in memory and which will have some structure like this. Okay, I may not be able to see each and every content. I may be able to see data. I may be able to see text. I may not directly would be permitted to see contents of stack and heap because this would be in controlled area of the user. So though would be in a user level context. So let us see what exactly contains the text. Text would be containing my program code. Okay, what is the code that I have written? So when I say what is the code that I have written, it means the object code. Second thing would be data. This data would be initialized global and static variables. So your all initialized global and static variables of your program would be going into data section when it becomes process. There would be something called as BSS, block started by symbol, which contains uninitialized global and static variables. Okay, I will show you that part too. Like rather, if you recall, I shared one channel link to with you all for Systems 2 course, correct? So like whenever you have free time, keep looking those videos. This would be important for you to gather more information about this. Okay, if additional information is expected, otherwise this knowledge should be sufficient. BSS would be containing uninitialized global and static variables. But how exactly it is done, if you really wish to see, check it there. Okay, not important, not necessary, but if you have keen interest on it, definitely do this. Okay, nextly, there would be heap. Like this would be as I gave you example of a trip where you are going to book, correct? Suddenly, if you see number of people increased, then that should be randomly allocated in a run mode, dynamic. That's what we said, dynamic memory. Okay, and this stack would be your information who would be there, who would not be there. So local variables and function invocations, function calls. Okay, so stack, this thing would be created with the stack. Okay, let us move further. Now suppose my code is something like this. Integer a, suppose these are some global variables that I declared. Integer a, character buffer 1000. Okay, void, this is a function call foo with integer a, function call ended. Then I have main, these are local variables. With p I am allocating dynamic memory like using malloc or new depending upon the programming language that you use, C or C++. Okay, and then I am giving call to function. Now what happens is, like if I see this in memory, this would be shown. In stack, these all local variables would be b, p and a. But you might wonder like why these three together are added here. They are at different places. So initially this BP would be added. Okay, then your A would be added because when it executes this call, then only this would be added. That's why. Otherwise, you could have seen this to be different. Suppose this A is here and this P and B is in foo. So this order might change. Okay, this would be available in the stack. All local variables that are included in the functions would be in the stack, and every stack would be different for each and every function call. Stack would be different for each and every function call. Okay, now how can I will try to prove it. Okay, in the next 2-3 minutes. Okay, this P is dynamically allocated. Either you use malloc function in C or new function, new thing, object creation using C++. So you get this in heap. This A and buffer is in data section. So I want to differentiate it with data and BSS together altogether here. But ultimately, if I see this A and buffer would be going into BSS rather than data. Okay, now suppose if I say integer A10, then data would be containing A and this buff would go to BSS. But as a whole, data and BSS would be combined together in capital DATA. So that's why we are representing it here like this, data, AA and BF. Fine. So this is how your variables can be seen in memory. Now, how exactly, let me try to show you this part, like that the stacks are different. Okay, till this part, do you have any questions? You can ask if any. If not, you can raise a hand so that I can move further. There is no question. Shall I move? Okay, good. So I'm assuming Allad on behalf of the class is telling me yes, there are few hands too. Let us see here now. Okay, so let me share the screen. Now I want you to see like how the function calls or how the stack is created for every function call. So for that purpose, let us take this code. So I have this code written. OK, so let me check 28 06 21 dot C. Now see this code. This code is calling main function is calling 1. Correct? Main is calling 1. OK, let me take another thing. This is 2. OK, and can you see underscore 1 2? Yeah. See, this 1 calls 2 and 2 already we saw. So there are 3 files. So let us open one by one. So this is first function. So let me open another code here. This is another function, another call. So this main calls 1. OK, this 1 is declared in this code and this 1 calls 2. So let us see another function call. So this 2 contains URN2. So we are calling what? We are executing main. Main calls a function which is an external function not declared in this file. OK, which is from here. And this calls 2, which is from here and comes back and so on. So let us try to see how exactly this is managed. So let me combine all of them together using linker. So I'm using GCC 06. I will share these files with you so that you can work with them to check what exactly I am doing. 062101.c. I'm linking together all these 3 source codes. 28 06 21 02.c and I'm including -g. OK, so I can see that my GDB, sorry, my a.out got created. So let me execute this. OK, you can see because we added -g, that's why this reading symbols is seen. Correct. So let us set a breakpoint. So if I write L, it is showing me this code now. Correct. Let me display my ESE instruction pointer, my program counter 2, because it would be useful for us to see in which function are we now. Correct. OK, so we displayed it. So let me say run. Have we set the breakpoint? No. Let us set the breakpoint. Breakpoint main, the position from where the code would be starting. So this is the address. OK, from your file. This contains a main code. That's why it is shown. So let us say run. OK, now it tells me that I am executing this main function. Correct. Now to see that stack, I use BT backtrace. So this is the current stack that I have in the operating system stack. Operating system has one stack, which is OS stack, where these stacks are created. Stack is a data structure which is working in terms of last in, first out. OK, last in, first out. If it is an array, for example, let me show you. So you think of pile of dishes. OK, some dishes are organized. So what you do is, suppose this is a pile that you have. OK, where you are going to add, say, dishes. OK, so let us border them. So you have this. So suppose if I keep adding dishes, so this is my first color. This is my, I am adding the dishes here. Huh? OK, this is second. This is third. Generally, what should happen? Like if I want to pull out the dish, so I should take out this first. Correct. So that I can put it here. I should pull out next, but don't apply the human logic. Like what human logic does. Generally, we don't take the top one. We do start pulling out this. Correct. So don't go with the human language, human process, but ultimately the important thing is you have to, like, whenever it is added. So you can see I added this one, then this one, then this one. Correct. One by one I added them. Then I can add one more here. Say for example with other color. So I have added this one. Now you may see, like, if I have to remove this, so I have to remove it from this way. So look, suppose I keep here. I have to remove this way. This is allocated to other person. I have to remove this way. Correct. That's how the stack works. So like if the stack is organized this way, your program, when it calls another function, there would be another stack created from here. So above this, that's why you may recall what are the variables that we saw in our code. What are the what are the code that I showed? Okay, let me add that into comment window from my Windows machine. So see the screenshot that I added there. Okay, if you see that code, there are variables declared, correct? A, buff, okay, as well B, P, and A. So you might have seen, I told you that BP would be added, then A would be added. This is because of the function call, correct? Okay, so let us see one more time where exactly we are. So yeah. One minute. Yeah. So like this was the thing that I told you, correct? This is how your stack will look like. So one by one it would be going and added. That's the data structure which works there. So like I am currently in main, correct? And it tells me that there's a stack called hash 0. This is a stack. Okay, let me say step. So it tells me that there is a function called printf. Okay, let us say step. Now you may see instruction pointer is also changing, correct? EIP was earlier, it was main, then it was main plus 30. So CD, then EB, now FD. Now we are going to another function call. So if I write BT, there is only one stack. But when I write step, now you may see it is now executing this one function call. The way that it started with main here, correct? It started with main at line number 2. Now it is here. So if I write now BT, there will be two stacks. One stack is for main, which is now below. Now though top one would be having number 0. Like the way that we saw this one. So this is at the top, correct? So if I remove this is at the top. If I remove this is at the top. If I remove this is at the top, correct? They're at the top. Now when I add 1, so now top is here. When I add 1, I can see top is here. When I add one more, correct? So it would be added there ultimately, one by one. Okay. Now let us continue execution. We know that from 1 it is going to display the thing, the printf. Okay, let us execute it. So keep eye on this EIP. Okay, even like let us display ESP2. So we are with this stack pointer. This instruction pointer is program counter. This is stack pointer. So if I say step again, now we are executing that printf function call. So it executed that function call. Now it is working with this 2. Now you will see, like if I see there are how many stacks? 2. Now you are giving call to the third function, which is 2. So suddenly I see that my code is now controlled here and I am in my instruction pointer also changed. It is with EIP with function 2. Correct. Now if I write BT, there would be 3 stacks. Correct. There would be 3 stacks. Now 2 is current execution. That's why this is the top stack. Then after 2, like before we gave call to 2, it was in 1. That's why next stack would be 1. And 1 was called by main. That's why this one. So as per your knowledge of C language, you must be saying that main is the first function which gets executed. Okay, we'll try to prove that too. Let us move further. So we are executing 2. So we are printing that 2. You are in 2. So this is printed. Okay. Now if I see, I can see still 3 stacks. Let us check this. I can see 3 stacks. So if I say step, now you are back to 1. So you are here. Correct. Now your instruction pointer also came back here. Earlier it was with 2. So if I write BT, now that earlier stack for 2 got destroyed. Okay, let us see. My stack for function call 2 got destroyed because that function call got executed. It is now pointing to the stack with 1. So if I say step again, it is going to come back to main, like this is of 2 only. Correct. So if I write BT, 2 stacks. So if I write step, it is back to your main function. You can see now it was with 1. Now it is with main. So if I write BT, that 1 also got deleted. Correct. Now we are with main. So if I say step, now last curly bracket got executed for my, and then it is back here. Now our idea was, like if I write BT, we never created these 2 stacks. These stacks were added by your loader, which executed, which like when you executed code like / your code, say gdb / a.out. So when that a.out got executed, loader identified through this code. So it identified that there is a function called start. This calls libc start main, and this calls your main. Now if I say step again, my program execution is done. Everything is done. Now it says your program was completed. These are the statements. ASDF, you are in 1, you are in 2, you are back to 1. This process is exited. Now if I write BT, there is no stack. Okay, so this is how the management is done by the process context. Now what are the addresses? Those we saw here with respect to EIP, ESP, whatever. They are from the process context. What are the image that I showed you from my other screen? Okay, I mean to say this one. Okay, from here. So this was the kind of thing. But now you may like see, we already saw this, correct? But we never would be able to see what are the different elements there right now using C. Probably if you do a course in next semester, an elective called low level assembly programming, at that time you would be knowing how exactly this is adjusted. But my task is not to show you how this is loaded. I'm roughly saying you giving you a global picture, saying that this would be added there in the stack. Have faith on me. When I am saying that the local values are added into stack, I will try to prove that part if at all you take a course in next semester called low level assembly programming. Okay, even I would be trying to show you how exactly this data would be added. If possible, and if you are a good programmer, then we also will address this heap part too in that point of time. But right now we are only understanding the concepts. So that's where we will stop our session for today. Fine. So if there are any questions, you can ask me.